So today we're going to be talking about Titanfall Online, a game a lot of you have probably never heard of, and the reason is it was a Chinese exclusive game, but I figured it was kind of an interesting topic just because of the fact that it's not very well known over in this part of the world, and there's a lot of little interesting things about the game that maybe be brought into other titles of Titanfall in the future, or may never see the light of day. But either way, I thought this was an interesting topic and I was searching for something else. So come along for the ride and I'll show you what this game was. Hey, just really quick, I noticed that 97% of people aren't subscribed who watch this channel, so if you guys like my videos, make sure to subscribe. I really appreciate it. And yeah, just back to the video. Quick disclaimer, most of this game is not documented well just because it is a Chinese game where YouTube is not used. A lot of things are very unknown about the game and how it plays due to this. Most videos were removed if they were uploaded to YouTube or any other site, so gameplay was insanely limited to 2 videos, and one of them was a trailer. So I'm sorry for that, but I hope you guys all enjoy it anyway. So Titanfall Online was a cancelled free-to-play game port of the original Titanfall game, developed by Nexon and aimed primarily at the Asian market, such as South Korea and China. As a port of the original Titanfall, it does not feature all that much content different to the original, although there are some differences. At that time, the creative director was
San Yang Wang
and the director was
Gang Su-oh.
The game has only seen a limited release in China with a closed beta running from August 24th to September 13th of 2017 in South Korea. Titanfall Online was cancelled on July 9th, 2018, primarily due to poor reception during testing in a changing market. See, I find this very, very interesting because Titanfall 2 came out in 2016, but they ported the original Titanfall 1 to South Korea and the Asian markets when Titanfall 2 drastically improved the gameplay loop of Titanfall. Not saying Titanfall 1 was a bad game, but it's definitely more lacking in a sense compared to Titanfall 2 with the grappling mechanics, the sliding, the map design, and everything. So I thought it was very interesting that they used Titanfall 1 as this kind of template to launch a whole new market. And Nexon isn't primarily known for making amazing games, so that probably doesn't help with this, but it's definitely very interesting that they chose Titanfall 1. I don't know exactly when this project started, so that might be the reason why. Maybe it started back in 2015 before Titanfall 2 was finished. But either way, it's very interesting, and again, not a lot was added to the game. There was some things added which we will be getting into, but overall the gameplay and everything about it was basically copy and pasted from Titanfall 1. So just keep that in mind. So anyway, there are 4 primary pilot characters to play as in Titanfall Online. It is really unknown the differences they provide to pilots from the original Titanfall. However, they have been given official backstories to set them within the Titanfall universe. I could not find any information on this or where to find this at all. Probably just in-game, and I have to translate it from Korean. Still very interesting. They basically added new characters that didn't really make a drastic change besides for just making them new characters, and then gave them a backstory because they could, I guess. So aside from the Atlas, Strider, and Ogre Titans, Titanfall Online introduces a new Titan chassis based on the Ogre called the Destroyer. In terms of gameplay, the Destroyer still uses the shield core, but it has equipped with an offensive charge cannon that fires a beam similar to a laser shot. The original 3 have also seen redesigns, and all 4 Titans have an addition of a tier 2 Titan. I'm not quite sure what that means. I haven't seen any information on this whatsoever, so I'm not quite sure what a tier 2 Titan is. I don't know if it gives it an extra ability or what, but either way, kind of interesting. They added a whole new class for this game, which is interesting, even though it seems like it was kind of just copy-pasted and then given a different weapon. Still kind of interesting that they even went to that length for it. The game uses all the same weapons from the original Titanfall, but adds 3 new weapons. The Valkyrie sniper rifle, which is a bolt-action sniper that is very similar to the Kraber. The gameplay of this weapon doesn't really exist besides for the little bit from the trailer, so the damage is unknown, but it might have just been a weak Kraber, and it had a 6-round magazine. The Charge Cannon. This weapon was employed exclusively by the Destroyer Titan in Titanfall Online. It takes the form of large, shoulder-mounted, heavy laser cannon requiring a short charge-up time similar to the Charge Rifle or Plasma Railgun. Due to the exclusive status of each Titan in Titanfall Online having its own tactical ability, the Destroyer does not have a defensive tactical ability, but instead increases its offensive power. The Rotary Cannon. Titan weapon featured in Titanfall Online. It's a large rotary cannon with no other details. I shit you not, that was the description on the site I got for all this information. It's just super interesting. There was gameplay of these things, except for the Valkyrie. Like the charge cannon, there was gameplay of it, but it was taken down, so I'm not able to go and find that, sadly. It's just super, super interesting that they added new weapons, new Titans, new Titan weapons to the game. The game had all the same maps as Titanfall 1, but there were 2 new maps for the game. One was called Dawn. It was set in a desert environment littered with the remains of a previous battle. A fierce battle between the fleets of the IMC and the Frontier Militia ranges in the sky, flanked by several orbital defense cannons. The majority of the map is set inside an industrial facility with 2 primary paths allowing movement of Titans from the desert on one side to another. The pilot paths link these 2 main paths. This seems like it might be similar to the ship that is in Titanfall 2 towards the end of the game. It seems like it might have a similar kind of layout to that, and then they just added a desert on each side for Titans, and then paths for the Titans to move around inside the ship. I'm not quite sure. It seems very interesting, and I'm not quite sure how it would have played, but it's definitely interesting that they did a whole new map for this game. The other map was Nest. The map was exclusively used for a new game mode called Demolition, which is an extension of a classic first-person shooter plant the bomb mode, in which one team has to plant a bomb on one of the 2 bomb sites and the other team has to prevent it or defuse the bomb. Players start the gameplay in Titans, and there is no respawns. The first team to 4 wins the entire game. That's interesting. They start in their Titans, so it seems like it's more like Last Titan Standing in a way, but there's an objective, which is interesting. And I don't know if you could get out of your Titans. I'd imagine probably then. That's very interesting. I'm surprised this doesn't exist in Titanfall now. That seems like a kind of interesting game mode where you start in a Titan, your Titan gets destroyed, you still have a life, and now you have to battle against Titans and then also against other pilots who also had their Titans destroyed. That seems like it could be a fun game mode. Maybe someone wants to do it as a custom game mode. I don't know. I can see some possibilities with that being a little bit broken just because there's Titans and pilots in the same mix in a 1-life game mode, so I can see that being kind of frustrating. The map looks very similar to Overlook. The map is using textures from Overlook, and one fragment is even literally copied over from it. I don't exactly remember what Overlook is, like which map that is from Titanfall 1, because I haven't played the game in a long time since Steam doesn't work for Titanfall, and PC Titanfall 1 is completely broken. But it definitely seems very interesting. The game mode intrigues me, and I would be interested to play it, even if it was in like a limited capacity of some sort. There's also a lot of cosmetic things added to Titanfall Online, as you could tell by some of the images that I threw up on screen. Titans got completely changed. Pilots had very interesting gear. The creator class was entirely changed, which I thought was very interesting. It looks very similar to another Chinese game, which is Call of Duty Online I've covered before in the past. But it looks very similar to that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was inspired by that, which that was made around the same time period as well. Trying to capture that Asian market because they just spend tons of money over there, and that's a huge market to get into. So I understand why they wanted to do this. And I also understand why it didn't really go nearly as well as how Titanfall did over here in the West. Just because the gameplay of Titanfall 1 definitely isn't up to par with Titanfall 2's in any sort of sense. I definitely still love Titanfall 1. I understand why Titanfall 2 is the superior game. And I think it would have been a little bit different if they would have changed and not used Titanfall 1 as a base and used Titanfall 2 instead. I think that could have been a lot better, especially with how clunky Titanfall 1 was as a game and the marketing budget that the game had. And then trying to port that over to an Asian market, which is just overwhelmed with so much content already. I can see how that might not catch everyone's interest. But the game died after a year. There's not really any other information on this game, sadly. I haven't seen anyone talk about this game, surprisingly, because it seems very interesting. Yes, it's just a Titanfall 1 port, but it's definitely something that when people find out about it, they're definitely interested in seeing still. So I'm surprised no one has really talked about this game. But yeah, let me know what you thought of Titanfall Online. Would you have played it if it would have came over to the West? I saw a lot of people say they didn't like how the game looked and they didn't like how they added more anime aesthetics to the game. But You have to understand this was for a Chinese market. They wanted to appeal to them as much as they can. And even today, Apex is going into Japan, which they want to make a lot of money from the Japanese audience over there. So I think this would have been really cool if this would have just been a free add-on to Titanfall 1 over here as like a DLC or something, just the assets that were used. I think it's interesting that none of the assets from this game were really used in anything else. The Valkyrie would have been really, really cool to use. Even if it was added into Apex or something, that would be kind of cool. But yeah, I would have loved to get my hands on this game and play it. Sadly, there's no way of doing so. There's literally no remnants of this game online and or really at all playable whatsoever. This was also a PC exclusive, which it did not say anywhere. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed this interesting little throwback in time a few years. If you guys have any questions about it or want to talk about it some more, let me know down in the comments. And that'll be about it. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave the gameplay that I'm using for this video down in the description if you want to watch the whole 45 minutes of it. And I will also leave all my sources down there below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Peace.